Hello and welcome. In this episode, we will cover and explore the sixth and final reason that can explain why gas prices are and have been so high lately. If you have missed the previous episodes of this series, I encourage you to watch them and don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more.
People who are doing really, really well should feel comfortable supporting everybody else.
Now, let's talk about the final reason that can explain why gas prices are so high. Although the populists have a hatred for them, they are crucial for the politicians and the elite class because their hold on power depends on them. Of course, I'm talking about taxes here. Do you find it particularly surprising that most politicians around Canada have not yet suggested cutting the many taxes that we have on gas to alleviate the current situation we're experiencing? To this day, we've heard many considering regulating and intervening even more in the gas industry to try to fix things. Still, few have proposed simply cutting taxes, which is a very simple thing to do. Also, this action would have an immediate effect on the gas prices. Recently, Ontario and Alberta decided to cut their provincial taxes on gas temporarily when Doug Ford was in the middle of his re-election campaign and with Jason Kenney stepping down from the leadership. Other than that, I would say that it is unimaginable to expect Trudeau and the other provinces to do the same thing since everyone is already deep in the red. On top of that, Trudeau needs money to have his luxurious party sent to Ukraine and travel around the world in his private jets. Who is going to pay for all of this if they cut taxes? Therefore, don't get your hopes up or pray for a populist revolution. However, do taxes have that big of an impact on gas prices?
Now, I rode my bike here today, and my aforementioned husband and I are raising 3 kids in downtown Toronto without owning a car.
Yeah, good for you, Ferlin. Let's just look at the numbers across Canada. But before that, let's look at the federal level because they take a significant cut from the sale of gasoline. First, the federal government collects 5% per liter of gas with the goods and services tax in every Canadian province and territory, or a specific rate with the harmonized sales tax, depending on the province. Some say that it's not that bad, but it adds up in the end, especially nowadays. On top of that, the Trudeau government recently instituted the Greenhouse Gas Pollution Pricing Act, better known as the carbon tax, in 2018. It's a regulatory tax on fossil fuels such as gasoline and natural gas, and a tax for the industries that emit too much pollution. This extra gas tax is only applicable for now in certain Canadian provinces and territories where the gas was not expensive enough, or for jurisdictions that did not adopt a good enough plan to reduce carbon emissions before April 2019. So the tax was $20 per ton of carbon dioxide equivalent in 2019 and had risen by $10 per ton annually to top $50 per ton in 2022. Moreover, after getting blowbacks from many Canadians and some provincial governments, the Trudeau government promised to refund the affected Canadians with the funds from the carbon tax by giving various rebates. However, many specialists said that most households end up economically worse off paying this tax despite the rebates. Anyway, I bet those funds will most likely be used to give to Ukraine. But the sad thing in all of this is that the carbon tax will do nothing for the climate. It's just a big money grab, according to many.
It's a step to put a price on pollution and reduce carbon emissions. But is the carbon tax working?
The short answer is no. The carbon tax is not working. The carbon tax isn't working. The emissions are going up. The only thing this is a cash grab.
Now the numbers regarding the provincial taxes to top it off. So in a word, it's not better, but it's better in some provinces than others. In the end, we can clearly see that the different taxes directly impact gas prices in Canada and why it is just self-inflicting. But Canadians love paying taxes because we keep electing this fool. So I don't really expect politicians to reduce or scrap them anytime soon.
I think what we need to do as a nation is gradually to reduce our dependence on what we're seeing in terms of fossil fuel so that we don't have these kind of impacts on the price. I think the more electric cars we'll see on the road, the better. I think that's what we want to do as a government, is to accelerate what we've done.
For them, it is straightforward. You don't need to pay taxes on gas if you don't buy gas. You only need to buy a $50,000 electric car like them and everything will be fine.
I'm willing to pay $4 a gallon. Hell, I'll pay $15 a gallon because I drive a Tesla.
But if you can't afford it, just take the bus and shut up, because we all need to make sacrifices to save the planet. To conclude this analysis, there are in fact simple solutions that could solve the gas price crisis we are currently in. And no, they are not about solving climate change.
I'm just wondering, what do you think is behind the rise in threats that politicians are facing?
We've been through a lot as a country, as a world over these past years. Obviously, the pandemic, increasing anxiety because of climate change, transformations of our economy.
To sum it up, the gist of it is basically to make sure that the government get out of the way of the citizens and let them fix the problems with the free market. By doing that, the government will no longer be able to create crises constantly and worsen them by trying to solve what they have caused.
From basically European intellectual inquiry into what the heck happened in Germany in the 20s and 30s. Very intelligent, highly educated population, and they went barking mad. And how did that happen? The answer is mass formation psychosis. When you have a society that has become decoupled from each other and has free-floating anxiety and a sense that things don't make sense, we can't understand it. And then their attention gets focused by a leader or a series of events on one small point, just like hypnosis. They literally become hypnotized and can be led anywhere. And one of the aspects of that phenomena is the people that they identify as their leaders, the ones typically that come in and say, you have this pain and I can solve it for you. I and I alone, okay, can fix this problem for you. Okay, then they will follow that person through. It doesn't matter whether they lie to him or whatever. The data are irrelevant. And furthermore, anybody who questions that narrative is to be immediately attacked. They are the other. This is central to mass formation psychosis. And this is what has happened. We had all those conditions. If you remember back before 2019, everybody was complaining, the world doesn't make sense, blah, blah, blah. And we're all isolated from each other. We're all on our little tools. We're not connected socially anymore, except through social media. And then this thing happened and everybody focused on it. That is how mass formation psychosis happens. And that is what's happened here.
The only play they have in their playbook is that we have to panic, the world is ending, doom saying, doom prophesying. But at the same time, they're the ones in charge of the government. So their pitch seems to be, everything is terrible, please reelect us. And it just doesn't, I think it speaks to the fact that, look, tyrants, this is always what they do. Tyrants, it's always about panic and hysteria.
The free market will balance things out and resolve the mess we are in right now, as the world has repeatedly seen in the past. Let's not forget that the free market has been behind most of the scientific and technological progress, societal growth, and development, on top of the luxuries we are currently enjoying in the Western world. It'll take years to recover and undo all the damage that the Trudeau years have caused, but things will balance themselves over time with a small government.
In this present crisis, government is not the solution to our problem. Government is the problem. From time to time, we've been tempted to believe that society has become too complex to be managed by self-rule, that government by an elite group is superior to government for, by, and of the people. Well, if no one among us is capable of governing himself, then who among us has the capacity to govern someone else? All of us together, in and out of government, must bear the burden. The solutions we seek must be equitable, with no one group singled out to pay a higher price. We hear much of special interest groups. Well, our concern must be for a special interest group that has been too long neglected. It knows no sectional boundaries or ethnic and racial divisions, and it crosses political party lines. It is made up of men and women who raise our food, patrol our streets, man our mines and factories, teach our children, keep our homes, and heal us when we're sick. Professionals, industrialists, shopkeepers, clerks, cabbies, and truck drivers. They are, in short, we the people.
More specifically, we need to get our rights and liberties back from the government first. However, in order to get them back, the federal and provincial courts need to apply the Canadian Constitution, the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, etc. What's the point of having laws and rights if the government can bypass them with decrees and if the courts do nothing in response to that? Since 2020, we had lockdowns, curfews, quarantine hotels, vaccine mandates, the closing of businesses and places of worship, etc. For the love of God, the unvaccinated can finally travel by plane and train in Canada after being barred from doing so since October 2021.
You deserve better. You deserve a government that's going to continue to say, get vaccinated. And you know what? If you don't want to get vaccinated, that's your choice. But don't think you can get on a plane or a train besides vaccinated people and put them at risk.
But we still have to wear a mask, except for Trudeau, of course. Yet, despite all of that, we had no objections from the courts, citing the first provision of the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. What the hell is that? We can't have that in the Charter with a Prime Minister that has an admiration for the Chinese Communist Party basic dictatorship.
Even with Sun TV watching for any slip, he was asked which country he most admired and referred to China.
There's a level of admiration I actually have for China because their basic dictatorship is allowing them to actually turn their economy around on a dime and say, we need to go green as fast as we need to start, investing in solar. I mean, there is a flexibility that I know Stephen Harper must dream about, of having a dictatorship that he could do everything he wanted, that I find quite interesting.
So let's scrap that right away. Because as Benjamin Franklin once said, he who sacrifices freedom for security deserves neither. So that would be a great start. And for the people who are still scared of COVID, just stay in your home. No one is forcing you to go out. And if you want to be a weirdo, well, just be a weirdo. Then we need to figure out how to stop the Central Bank of Canada from printing money with the goal in mind to try to lower inflation. I suggest putting the central bank into indefinite complete lockdown and making the politicians go to rehab for their money printing addiction. I'm sure we will be able to recover from the inflation with our rights and freedoms back, on top of the termination of the money printing.
Inflation is made in Washington because only Washington can create money. And any other attribution to other groups of inflation is wrong. Consumers don't produce it. Producers don't produce it. The trade unions don't produce it. Foreign sheiks don't produce it. Oil imports don't produce it. What produces it is too much government spending and too much government creation of money and nothing else.
Next, we need to cut all taxes on gas and fuel, at least for the near future. The money doesn't go at the right place anyway, so we won't be missing on much by cutting taxes. Only the politicians and their friends. We see you, Trudeau. Stop hiding behind plants. By doing so, we will see an immediate effect on the price of gas and the price of pretty much everything that requires transportation. Finally, let's do the same regarding the stupid and industry-crushing regulations and policies that prevent Canada from becoming the wealthiest nation in the world.
I'm just saying, Canada sucks. Like, it's a great place with great food and great people, but I mean the government and what it's done to the country has just made it an awful place.
This is what happens if AOC was your president.
Wow.
This is exactly what happens. Justin Trudeau, President Zoolander, is the AOC equivalent up in Canada.
He talks like this.
Let's just use and export our many natural resources sustainably and ecologically, instead of hoarding them until China takes them all for their war efforts or to sustain their dictatorship. We should not aspire to become like the past Imperial Japan's Indonesia or like the past Nazis Norway, even though Papa Castro, Trudeau, would have been proud of his little Justin for trying to do so. The government just needs to get out of the way of our Canadian natural resources industries and let the free market make the industry more efficient, more sustainable, and more eco-friendly.
Ouch! 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 Out! Out of this property! Immediately out! Immediately go out and don't come back. I don't want to talk to you. Not a word. Out of this property, immediately out. I don't care what you have to say. Out! Out! Out of this property, you Nazis! Out! Out! Gestapo is not allowed here. Immediately, Gestapo is not allowed. Out! Do you understand English? Get out of this property. Go. So go. Go. And don't come back without a warrant. Out, Nazi. Out. Out. You understand? Nazis are not welcome here. Out.
With these actions, I'm sure we will be able to make gas affordable again in no time and recover from the damage that has been done under the Trudeau regime.